Science Explorers. This is your lead scientist, Miss Shirley. Today's lesson is how are rock landforms affected by the environment? In today's lesson, you're going to explore the following. Weathering and erosion by water play a role in forming the unique shapes that Grand Canyon and the wave Rock of Perth. Imagine a bar of soap in its original form and a second bar of soap under a water faucet, using it to wash hands until it gets noticeably smaller. This is similar to erosion of rock in nature's elements of sun, wind, rain, and snow. So the Grand Canyon is a national park in northern Arizona. Water carved the rock into a canyon over millions of years. Wave Rock of Perth is located in Australia, and this landform is said to resemble a large wave and was carved into its unique shape by groundwater. And looking at Mount Rushmore, even though the stone mountain is outside and stone can be very hard, weather like wind and water can still damage it. That's why it's important to maintain the stone. In our last lesson, we explored the following. Sometimes people have to go up to the faces of Mount Rushmore to help maintain them or keep the rock from changing due to natural processes. The walkway with the flags is known as the Avenue of Flags, and the flags represent different states and districts in America. The flags are arranged in alphabetical order. Landscapes are the visible features of an area. Hills and mountains are landforms, which are natural features of land. There are ocean and beach landscapes, but there are also landforms. A forest of trees is a landscape, but it's not a landform. The trees could be grown on a mountain or plains landform. And there are desert landscapes, but a desert is also a landform. And binoculars are tools that people can use to see things that are far away more closely. Let's introduce some words that we need to learn for this lesson. Preserve, maintain, something in its original or existing state. And weathering, the process of wearing or being worn by long exposure to environment. And erosion, the gradual destruction of or diminishing of. Okay, Science Explorers, we are going to learn more about how rocks can change due to the environment. And we're going to investigate and explore some questions about it. So let's watch this video to learn more.
This is Earth, home to 7 billion plus people, 7 continents, and all kinds of amazing plants and animals. This is what Earth has looked like for a long time, and will probably continue to look like for a long time, right? Yes, and no, sure. This is what Earth looks like from space. But even though it looks pretty much the same from whenever we view it from afar, once you zoom in on it, you can see it's always changing. On a small scale, things like moving water shape the Earth's landforms, the natural features of the Earth's surface. On a bigger scale, the gradual shifting of the Earth's crust is slowly moving even bigger things, like the oceans and the continents. So one day, our planet will look different, maybe a lot different from how it looks now. So how exactly does water shape Earth's landforms? Or to bring it back to the spheres we've been talking about, how does the hydrosphere affect the geosphere? To understand that, we need to discuss weathering. I'm not talking about the weather, like if it happens to be sunny or cold or foggy outside your window right now. I'm talking about weathering, the process that takes place as rocks and other parts of the geosphere are broken down into smaller pieces. Weathering can be caused by water, air, chemicals, plants, or even animals, including us. And there are 2 types of weathering you need to know about: mechanical weathering and chemical weathering. Mechanical weathering is the process of breaking big rocks into little ones. Frost, ice, the roots of plants, running water, or heat from the sun can all cause mechanical weathering. Chemical weathering involves the changes that some substances can cause in the surface of the rock that make it change shape or color. Things like carbon dioxide, oxygen, and acids can all cause chemical weathering. And when rocks have been weathered and all broken down and are later moved by natural forces like wind, water, or ice, that's called erosion. Weathering and erosion sound pretty similar, right? Well, yeah. But not exactly. Think of weathering as the hammer that breaks down the rocks. Erosion is the process that carries those rock fragments away, or put in a way we're all familiar with. Weathering helps make a mess, and erosion helps clean it up. Let's take a trip to the beach to see what part the hydrosphere plays in weathering and erosion. This is a picture taken from space of the coastline of Massachusetts in the northeastern United States. It's part of a landform called Cape Cod, and the picture shows what the beaches and islands around it looked like in 1984. Now look at this photo from 2014. What's different? There are actually more islands in 2014 than there were before. Back in 1984, that long strip of land was North Beach. Now, that strip of land has been chopped up into separate islands. The top part is North Beach, the middle area broke off into North Beach Island, and the bottom part is now called South Beach. So, how did that happen? Well, moving water is a major cause of erosion, and there's a lot of moving water in the Atlantic Ocean. The intense energy of ocean waves crashing on shore causes pieces of the rocky, sandy coastline to break into smaller pieces or to weather over time. Then, natural forces like major storms and rising sea levels then move or erode these smaller pieces. Day to day, you might not notice any dramatic changes, but over the course of 30 years, well, as these pictures show, coastlines can change a lot. So, what can we take away from this? Well, we saw that water can weather and erode Earth's landforms, and that's just one example. There are so many others, like floods weathering valleys or glaciers eroding mountains. Let me break it down for you this way. See what I did there? The hydrosphere shapes and sometimes moves the geosphere. One last joke before I sign off. What did the geosphere say to the hydrosphere? You crack me up.
Okay, science explorers. Again, let's investigate and explore some questions and learn a little bit more about how rocks can change by the environment. Okay, on Logan's trip to Mount Rushmore, he sees a person working on Thomas Jefferson's face. He later learns that the person is helping to preserve the appearance of the stone and prevent it from weathering. We will learn about the importance of protecting rock landforms. Now think about that bar of soap in its original form. Next, picture of a second bar of soap under a water faucet, using it to wash your hands until it gets noticeably smaller. How is the bar of soap under the water like rock changing form over time outside in the elements of sun, wind, rain, and snow? Think, think, think. Science explorers, write your response. Okay, so we will see how weathering and erosion by water played a role in forming the unique shapes that the Grand Canyon wave Rock of Perth. It probably took millions of years for water to change the landforms that we are about to look at. So if you look to the right, you'll see the images of the weathering and erosion of landforms. What do you notice about the changes in the shapes of the landform? Think, think, think. Science explorers, write your response. Now, the Grand Canyon is in a national park in northern Arizona. Water carved the rock into a canyon over millions of years. Wave Rock of Perth is located in Australia. This landform is said to resemble a large wave and carved into its unique shape by groundwater. Do you think these pictures are of the Grand Canyon or Rock of Perth? Hint, see the photos on the right. Think, think, think. Science explorers, write your response. Look at this image. Also remember that the title of this chapter is Protecting Stone Monuments from Changes, and pay attention to how the rocks look here. Logan asked a park guide about the people he saw climbing the sculpture. The guide explains that the workers are protecting the monument from the weather. This seems strange to Logan. This whole place is outside. The monument is stone that has been outdoors forever. Why would such a thing need protection from the weather? And how would people protect a giant stone carving? Think, think, think. Science explorers, write your response. And to finally summarize, looking at Mount Rushmore, even though the stone monument is outside and a stone can be very hard, weather like wind and water can still damage it. That's why it's important to maintain the stone. So why would a carved stone monument need protection? Think, think, think. Science explorers, write your response. And finally, what did you think of today's lesson? Okay, science explorers, we learned how rock can change by the environment. Until next time, ciao for now.